Okay, the point of this video is to help anybody who is creating a new repository to be able to set up the settings such that um, it is in harmony with what we would like to do and how we develop in FHTL. There's a lot of ways that different people develop, right? Some people develop on master, but we don't do that because we're smarter developers and develop like the rest of the world. So first of all, you can do this with a repository that you've imported or that you have um, that's empty, that doesn't have anything. Always when you get to the first page, you should always have a README, um, as that will actually be part of something that you want to check for in pull requests later. So once you get to this, go to your settings. You will not have issues on yours if you just barely created the repository usually. But we're just going to go through every single one of the things on the side that you're going to need to do to set up. So starting on the first one, the repository details, you should have it within a project. You can add a description, you don't need to. Make sure it's private repository, only private people can fork it, and usually you just want it to go on the source code, because that's what people usually go to most. And then main branch is master, that is always the main branch. And then save those, and then move on. Okay, user and group access. This has to do with who can write, who can read, and who can change permissions. Admins can change permissions. If you created it, you will have admin rights. And if you created the repository right, you should have BYU FHTL as the owner. If that is not there, you need to add them as the owner or something like that. Or you need to delete and redo your creation of the repository because FHTL is always the owner since they own the source code. Even the stuff that you develop, anything you develop for the lab. Once you do that, we're going to go to access keys. This is if you wanted to create ways for people to read the repository without editing it, but normally you don't ever worry about that, so don't worry about that. You can make aliases for people's names, but usually don't worry about that. You can find people's names, you should know them. Branch permissions. This is the most important thing within the settings probably, because this has to deal with the workflow. Well, these two sections right here. You always will add one branch permission, and it's going to go as follows. You're going to put master in, and you're going to make it so that nobody has write access. So don't put anything in here. That way nobody can actually physically write to master. It has to all be done through pull request. And then merge via pull request, you want to put everybody there. That way anybody who writes code and creates a branch can merge via pull request. Here's the thing that you're going to need to do to make sure that this works out correct. You're going to need to check that these two are checked, and check for at least 2 approvals. So that's you, whoever makes the pull request, and then 1 approval from a default reviewer. We'll talk about who those are, but basically we want to make sure that anytime new code is added, that it is approved and read, there's sufficient documentation so that it can work before. And then we always keep master most up to date and the most high quality. And we're not in premium, so we can't do that. But I'm going to click save. See, it creates a nice permission there that you can use. You can add more if you decide you want to have a standard development branch, which you'll see right here. And so you can actually specify development branch to be the main branch, and then it will automatically go to that when people are developing, even though you're going to be developing that. But if you have a specific branch that you want people to develop on, never master, use a specific branch. However, because normally in the lab you'll have people create branches, they'll create it and merge it and delete the branch. You just can keep that there. The production branch should always be the main branch, master though. And then just to give you a description of these prefixes, you don't ever actually have to use these, but a bug is an issue that's not super intense, but is something that needs to be fixed, and it's a branch that's specifically angled to doing that, so you can have bug fix / something like that, and then whatever the name of the branch, name of the bug. A feature, obviously if you're adding a new feature to a website, you do this one, hotfix. This is if you're making a branch off of master to fix a very important task that needs to be fixed right away. and if you are using a hotfix branch, usually you're going to develop off of master and merge into it pretty quickly. And then a release branch is just another release, which is similar to feature, don't ever use releases. Okay, merge strategies. If you know how Git works and how everything's merged, you will care about this. Otherwise, just keep it to merge commit. Either way, there will be conflicts and you will need to resolve them sometimes. So just keep it at this unless you know what you're doing. Webhooks. You don't need to worry about this, but it allows you to do all sorts of linking with what BitBucket is doing in here. And you can see what code is pushed and pulled. This is important right here. Make sure this is unchecked. You should not have it like this. Do not have it like this. Have it like this. Because most people don't use issues, and you can make sure that if you did want to, and you did want to use issues, you can make sure that every single merge requires an issue key. Basically saying, I am doing a commit to resolve a very specific issue. This is actually really nice if you know exactly what you're doing and you have a very streamlined developers. But normally, don't do that. We're just branching up the master. Okay, and then pull requests. Default reviewers. So you will always need to add whoever is the head of the repository. So if they're like in the data research side, one of those three branches, you'll put whoever's ahead of that. You can add some other default reviewers there as well. But remember, you just need two people to review it so you can merge it. That would be yourself and then somebody else who really knows what they're doing. So I could add more people here if I wanted to, but for this repository, since I'm the only person who really needs to know on this, I'll put me there. Although people can add as many reviewers as they want. This is if you want to add a default description for the pull request. Maybe remind people of things when they're in the pull request. You can stick that stuff in here. Stick some stuff in there if you really think it's going to be important. And you don't need to worry about this. Okay, features, wiki, issue tracker. If you did want to include an issue tracker, you can do that, and you can make things even more restrictive and make it so that you develop exactly the way you want your team to. But you can take off an issue tracker, and if you do that, then it'll remove this thing right here. But we keep it up just in case people decide they want to use it later, and you know it's available. For now, though, we use Trello, so that's just extremely useful. These are all parts of the issue tracker. Pipelines, there are lots of integrations that you can do with different things, but for the most part, you don't need to worry about this. We use BitBucket mainly for the Git integration. You can SSH into it. If you know how to secure shell, like SSH, you can actually get into different services and use BitBucket that way, but don't worry about that. And then you can add Trello to it. You can go to deployments. On deployments, you can just, it's just a way for configuring how you deploy stuff. We don't really use that very much. This is where you can actually change variables. So like if you wanted to create variables in the repository, you'd have to enable it correctly, but you can actually have variables that are specific to the repository that you can access with SSH. And then you can do code deploy, although I think they're actually getting rid of that. And you can connect to Slack as well if you want. But yeah, as an overview again, the most important thing that you need to do is make sure that you have the branch permissions set right and your default reviewers. I'm going to show you when you've added this correctly, this is what should happen. Let's say somebody goes and they do actually try to change master. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to edit the readme.md. So I'm going to go to the readme.md and edit the file. Now, as you notice, I am on master. I'm on master. However, if you're going to edit master directly, what will happen is it will automatically create a pull request if you just edit straight on master, so that people will still review your code even if you didn't formally create a branch because say you wanted to edit directly on BitBucket. There's a way you can do it. I'm just going to rename this repository to reverse indexing backend, because that is eventually what this repository will be. I created a new repository for it. And I'm going to click commit. And as you see right here, it's grayed out, and it's making it so that I have to create a pull request. I cannot just merge it in there. And because of this, I know that I've created the right permissions, so it creates a branch name for me. That's just a very simple commit message. And then I'm going to put Kyler on this to review it as well. And I will commit. And as you see, this is now a pull request. Technically, I can merge it, but you want to approve it. So get it approved and get people to do it. And it's really nice. You can view the diffs of different pull requests now that I've set this up correctly. But yeah.